Welcome again to NYSE U.S. Options Market Data Changes webinar. We are so happy to have everybody here. I'm joined here in San Francisco by three wonderful people, Vidya, Selvam, and Amar. I want to thank all three of y'all for joining us for this very important webinar where we're going to discuss market data changes moving from Arcabook to XDP. And I also want to thank my co-host, Amy Farnstrom. And I think Amy wants to start us off. So, Amy, I'll throw it to you.
Thank you, Todd, and thank you to everyone who's attending the call today and the WebEx. I can't overstate the importance of your participation in this initiative with us as our clients. This is an ambitious project, one that will require cooperation and participation between our staff and your technicians. We're excited about this. It brings a lot of new benefits to the marketplace for our clients. But again, we wanted to have this kickoff webinar and information sharing session just to get everyone up to speed with the general overview and roadmap of what it's going to take to get from point A to point B. We've got our resident experts from our Dev and QA teams, the leaders for U.S. options on board to provide all the details. And we think this is going to be an exciting initiative. But again, your early attention to this is much appreciated, and your ongoing participation throughout the testing cycles as we move this from concept to implementation is very much appreciated. And with that, I'll hand it over to our experts, Vidya, Selvam, and Amar. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Amy. Vidya, do you want to start us off? This is an interesting XDP data flow for customers. Explain it, please.
Sure, Todd. So I think in this slide, what we were trying to kind of start us off with is how would the data flow and a protocol work from a customer who's subscribing for the new XDP data, from their perspective, how it looks like. So we have the matching engine which generates the market data, and then we have the XDP senders, which is going to actually multicast the data out. So as a customer, you would get the A and the B feed from the XDP primary here in the blue with the strong arrow, the dark blue arrow. In the event of a failure, either in the matching engine or the XDP sender, we would automatically fail over to our backup unit, and the backup unit would continue sending the data in the same multicast channels that the primary was sending on. So from a customer perspective, it will be kind of transparent, and we have shown that with the light blue arrow to show that the secondary takes over at that point. And for intraday clients who are coming up, in order to get the series ID, the series download, the complex leg definition, and the underlying mapping, we have a TCP/IP protocol that the request controller is going to support, and they would be able to do a TCP connection, get the required mapping on the TCP channel itself.
Oh, nice. So it's a request and a response.
Yes.
Very interesting. So so they could come in anytime during the day and get a refresh starting new anytime during the day and do a request. But we're going to get, but the interesting thing is, and we're going to get about this, is the refresh capabilities for XDP compared to what it is now. So moving on, so we have the highlights of the new feed compared to Arcabook now going into the new XDP data publisher. So the first thing we have here is the stream ID, which is an interesting video. I know you wanted to talk about this starting off, so go for it.
So thank you, Todd. I think what we have tried to highlight here are all the main differences or features that we are providing with this new change from Arcabook to XDP. So one of the key differences is the introduction of this new identifier called the stream ID. So this identifier would be included in every packet that we send out as part of the packet header. And the stream ID basically is an identifier that kind of tells us which ME the data originated from. And this kind of allows us so from a customer perspective, today they get a packet sequence number, and they use the packet sequence number in order to know when they missed a packet as an identifier to know when there's a drop in the gap in the multicast. With the introduction of the stream ID, what we are really asking the subscribers to do is use the packet sequence number and the stream ID as a unique combination, and the gap filling or the detection of gap is based on this unique combination rather than just the packet sequence number by itself as an identity.
Wow, so that's a nice upgrade from currently what we do right now. So you want to have both the stream ID plus the packet sequence numbers, and that's going to help on all gaps and communication where you've missed packets of information.
Right.
And one of the reasons why we want to do this is it allows us to publish our feeds from multiple sources and into the same channel. So we are no longer restricted by any kind of we are no longer restricted to publish the data that we send out. It's no longer necessary that it has to originate from a single source.
Oh, very interesting, Selvam. Okay, that makes sense. So it's going to help out our customers ingest our data much easier.
Right, and it helps us in the back end to do a load balancing of our matching engines without enforcing a change on the customer. So we would have the channels defined by alpha, and in the back end, we can move our symbols around without making a change for the customer. So from their perspective, the alpha to the multicast channel combination always stays static, and we could do our load balancing anytime we need without having to enforce any change for the customers. It's completely transparent to them because of the introduction of Stream ID.
Oh, that sounds excellent. That sounds excellent. Love that. Already, I think I'm going to like this new XDP. So tell me about the aggregated feed for the Outright series.
Today in Arcabook, we have a top-of-the-book feed that we offer, which is a single-sided book, and it's an insert-delete-based data mechanism. So with the XDP protocol, what we are also introducing is a two-sided book similar to equities, and this would also have, it's more like an integrated feed equivalent. It'll offer, in addition to the two-sided code, it also offers the last sale in sequence with the code, as well as the imbalance, RFQ, series status information. All this information will be multicast out in a single stream, and it will be in sequence. So the customers would be able to get the quotes and the associated trade information in the same channel rather than have to reconcile the data coming from two different sources, which is the case today in Arcabook.
Oh, so it's going to be cleaner, seamless, no gaps, and there's going
to
be...
Todd, I think one of the big benefits from the business perspective is that these are guaranteed synchronous delivery now, so that things will be presented in the order in which they occurred. Currently, there's no guarantee of synchronous or time-sorted delivery from the various feeds, and this is something that we're implementing in response to heavy client demand and request for that type of rational delivery.
Now, Selvam, all of these packets are going to have the same source time. Explain that for us.
Yes. One of the things that we significant, now the feeds have become faster, the latencies are lower, and one of the things that we are seeing with the Arcabook feed is that the millisecond timestamp that we are publishing out is no longer good in this world, where the times have cut down to micros and nanoseconds. So going forward in this new feed, what we propose to add is add a microsecond timestamp, and we are also adding more value to this information by actually including the matching engine timestamp with the market data feed. So if you are getting a top of the book, you are definitely going to see a microsecond timestamp at which the matching engine generated the top of the book, along with the published timestamp that you are seeing today. So, which means customers will have more view into the latency on every single message update they are getting.
Wow. So we're taking 3 streams of data, literally putting it into one stream of data, and we're putting the matching engine timestamp on it in microseconds.
Yes.
This is wonderful. This is wonderful. Now, anything we should know about the aggregated complex feed?
Yeah, sure. Again, our goal is to right now the aggregator the complex feed right now is that we do send the channels we do send today we send the leg definitions of all our spread books as a product. We send the top of the book and we also send whenever we run electronic auctions we send out our RFQs and the auction end and begin and end messages. We will continue to support that. But however, we are also enriching this information. One of the things that we want to do is as the spread book begins trading and you're generating last sales, we would send an aggregator last sale on the spread. Rather than sending right now what we are doing is just sending the individual trades on the legs. Mm-hmm. But instead we would send the aggregator last sale on the spread itself as an instrument. And we are also to go with our new functionality, we will be adding more information like imbalances during the open, mm-hmm. Everything on on the spread book itself. So it behaves almost like an outright book and it provides all the feeds that the outright books provide.
Okay.
Right. And Todd, again, this is one of the things that is in response to heavy client feedback as being very desirable. I'm pretty excited about the aggregated complex feed, and in particular, the ability to provide that last sale for the complex transactions.
Yeah, that's a nice added new feature for XDP. Moving along, so now we have the auto refresh. Now, I think this is probably going to be one of the favorite things about this new XDP. So what would happen currently in Arcabook, people drop a packet and stuff like that. So the new way we're going to be doing this.
Yep. Well, today we send our market data updates as insert and delete, mm-hmm. Which mean two things to our clients. One is they need to do the book building, and two, they cannot drop any packets. So if they drop packets, they have to go and request for retransmission, which puts a lot of stress on our retransmission services. So with this enhancement, what we are planning to do is to provide snapshot of the BBO and the depth of book. So, which means if you drop a packet, you just wait for the next refresh to come and you get this next snapshot. Let's say if a symbol doesn't have any update, mm-hmm. then we provide a refresh with a configurable duration. So if a symbol doesn't have any update, mm-hmm. in 2 minutes, say, we'll get the last known book update. So they can sync with that and move on. So they don't need to really go for packet recovery efforts anymore.
So they never have to request if they drop a packet or something gets out of line. They can just wait.
Just wait.
Whenever the refresh happens, whether it's because of a trade last sale
yes.
or BBO movement, or because 2 minutes have passed by and then we're just going to refresh it automatically.
Yeah. Yes. So we have two choices, right? Either the market ticks and there is a refresh getting published, and they get a new snapshot of the market in the 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. If nothing happens, we publish our own refresh in the 2 minutes. So either way, customers have a 2-minute guarantee to get the latest market snapshot in every single.
And they get it all in a packet form, top of book and depth of book.
Yes.
That's beautiful. And just one packet.
It saves them from building the book, and it saves us in not doing too many retransmissions from our side. Uh-huh. So those are big advantages, I think.
Quicker and cleaner.
Yep.
I like that. Vidya, depth of book? Anything to add here?
So I think the key difference, so today's Arcabook depth of book that we offer is insert delete based depth of book. It's single-sided, and at a time we update, different levels. With the new depth of book, it's going to be a snapshot rather than an insert delete base. So at every point when there is a change, we would provide a depth for that side with all the levels included. Mm-hmm. Plus, we are reducing the depth of book from 5 price levels to 3 price levels as part of this initiative. Mm-hmm. And what this simplifies is, from a customer perspective, they don't need to do the book building exercise anymore. Mm-hmm. The whole construction of the book can be avoided. It's replaced by just handling of the messages and more like a snapshot refresh page, and that would give them the current book with all the levels with every update.
Wow, I like it. I sure do like it. So this next bullet point goes on to compression. Currently, we use one level of compaction. That's going to change.
So currently we use the fast compaction today in production, and as part of this initiative, we are also looking to replace that with an alternate algorithm for compression. Most probably we are going to go with either zlib or LZ4 pending evaluations. We hope to have a final answer in the upcoming months.
Okay. Of course, we'll tell everybody that for sure. So this next bullet point, symbol download upon request will be available inter-day, but y'all aren't expecting a lot of this since we have that automatic refresh.
Right, and this is more for if customers come up later or anytime, after the initial download is done on the multicast channels. It's more like what we have today where they can connect on the TCP and they would be able to get both the underlying and the series as well as the complex select definition anytime on the TCP request mechanism.
Okay. Oh, so it is very robust, and you get like the morning series downloads information also through that. Excellent. That's
Plus,
good to know.
anytime they missed any intraday symbols, they got new feeds. Anytime they missed it or anytime they have a gap, they want to request, they can come back and they can re-request the information, and we provide all the series symbol and the let definition.
Wonderful, Selvin. Wonderful. Okay, and then the refresh is the same for the channels as the real-time data feed. So there's no different channels that they have to connect to.
Correct.
Everything's going over the same channel.
Same channel. I think, and the main advantage is from a customer or subscriber perspective, there's no synchronization needed. You wouldn't need to synchronize the refresh sequence number against the real-time sequence numbers to figure out which messages you would need to buffer and process from that point. By having everything in line in the same channel, there is no difference in your processing between a refresh versus a real-time message. So it's very simplistic.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, sort of simplifies it, keeps it all nice and clean and easy to go. I like that. So obviously this is a big time event for us. And so we want our customers and our participants with us all the way along the road. So we have a couple of drops where we're going to drop code into the certification environment. Amar, you want to talk about the drop one, what we should expect from that?
Yes, so the first drop is going to have one feed, which is top of book, including only the codes, but it will also include the compression we would have selected. So customer gets to code for the compression and test for the compression with this feed. Because we cannot process the messages without a sort of series download, so we are also going to provide the series download with it.
Okay.
So that's the drop.
So that's the two big things, and that's going to have compression. Now, we're expecting this
sometime first quarter.
Sometime first quarter, but like January, early February, first quarter.
Correct.
Okay, so that's good. So, and then the second drop, we're going to add some more stuff.
Yes, so we are going to add the depth of feed for outrights, and it will also include the auto refresh we talked about.
Okay.
The 2-minute thing.
Okay. Excellent. Now, so each of these subsequent releases builds on the other one, correct? So
yes.
It's all iterative, and so everybody needs to be going along. But we're going to be giving them a lot of information, right, about when and where to test in the certificate environment. Certification environment.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Zelda. As everybody knows, English is my second language. Thank you for laughing, Amar. Amar actually laughed. Everybody else was just sitting here for people out there in webinar land. So talk about the drop 3. So the drop 3, this is going to be on the, this is the single leg, right?
So the drop 3 is mostly about giving a complete functionality for the outright feed, which then it would include providing the last sale. Then we will provide the symbol status. Then these are going out in the top of the book channel, so they are going to be added to the top of the book channels. On the complex on the top of the book channel, we are also adding the other feeds like imbalance, which will be published prior to the opening. And during the opening, if you're running auctions, we'll be publishing start, end auction, and RFQ message.
Okay, on that. Excellent.
Yes.
And so the fourth drop is basically the complex feed, just like this third drop.
Absolutely. Like, so from the drop 3, once we have that functionality running in the outright books, like, then we are basically going to replicate the same functionality for the complex books. Which means it will exactly include a two-sided top of the book with the auto refresh, a complex last sale feed that will also have the auto refresh. You will have a symbol status message. You will have a complex imbalance, and you will have an RFQ whenever there is a complex auction facilitation or solicitation auction, or you will have a start and end auction message to demarcate the start and end times.
Excellent. Sounds good. And then the last drop is we do a beta release, and then we have any bug fixes. Anything to know about this drop 5?
So the drop 5, I think, and as Amy highlighted at the beginning of the webinar, so this is more like a big bang rollout, and this really relies a lot on cooperation and participation from the firms, from our clients, from our customers who are going to subscribe to this data. So, and the reason for the staggered drop that we are planning to do is so that we can get participation from the customers early on in the cycle, so we are able to incorporate their feedback and make changes as necessary. And we are, when we are ready with our final drop, the subscribers are also ready, and it gives us, a much better chance of being able to roll this out and having all our subscribers being ready as well. So the drop 5 is more like a cleanup release, but is incorporating all the feedback and fixing the bugs, adding some controls and, and tracking for us. That's the main goal, and just prepping for the final go live with this.
Totally makes sense. So, it's very important for the customers, our participants, to stay on, be with us on each of our drops, be ready to test in our certification environment, be able to throw out any bugs that are coming up, and of course, any suggestions that they have anywhere along the line. We're always open to them because obviously this is for them, not for us. Okay, so it has come to our time for our polling questions. This is for people on the webinar themselves. We're going to open up the polling question. So our first question is going to be, is commonality with XDP equity messages important? This is a yes or no question. Does anybody want to give their thoughts on this as we open it up?
Sure. Yeah. So from our perspective, like, when we looked at the XDP, they do have an integrated feed, and they provide the top of the book. We see a lot of parallels. But when it comes to the details of the enrichment of the data and, like, what we publish and things, we do see differences. So one of the things that came up was, is there any benefit to being aligned with the equity XDP messages in terms of the format, in terms of the layout, and in terms of the message types?
And I think it's more a customer feedback, which is why it's a polling question. Yes, there's going to be extra fields because we're trying to stick to more like an equity spec that we have today. But if it's easier from a customer perspective, since they are already an XDP equity subscriber, to piggyback on that for options, then we would support it. If from a customer perspective, they're indifferent or it doesn't really help, then we would, not try to align. So that's kind of why the feedback is very critical for us to finalize our message specification document.
Okay, so we'll open that up right now to people. Oh, go on, Amy. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead and open up the polling, and then I'll make my comment.
Okay, so please enter your response now, yes or no. And you will not be seeing the responses on your screen. This is just for internal. We thank you for voting, and your response is very important. So there we go. The poll has ended. Amy, you wanted to mention something?
Well, I just wanted to say that, one thing to keep in mind, if we do strive for commonality, is that, the time frame or the agility in being able to make changes to our XDP versus the equities XDP is that we would have cross-platform impact.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so moving along to our next question, is the suggested snapshot refresh feature acceptable? So what we're talking about here is the refresh on the quotes, last sale, symbol status, market depth messages. So is that refresh acceptable, inbounds and crossing? Yes.
Yeah. To add more color on the bullet points, like some of the things is that we try to identify what market data information is refreshable and what's not. And our view is that the series index mapping, the underlying index mapping, and the complex definition is always available and should be available upon demand. Like, whenever customers need that information, they should be able to get it. So we provide them as a TCP. When we get a TCP request, we provide that. The imbalance and the RFQs are, time sensitive. Once they are out, the RFQ ends. It's not relevant anymore, so we don't provide the refresh. But the codes, the last sale, the market, the depth and the top, and the symbol status are very much refreshable. So if the customers don't have the information, they should be able to know it very quickly. So those are the ones we are mainly targeting to provide as a refresh.
Okay.
And Selvam, just to emphasize that 2 minutes would be the absolute maximum duration before a refresh. Obviously, in most symbols with activity, there would be updates caused by a tick in the marketplace or some activity occurring in that series that would create a refresh sooner than the 2 minute interval.
Yes, absolutely, Amy.
Good point. I was supposed to mention that. Thank you, Amy, for covering for me, as always.
And this also includes the fact that it's on the same channel, so we just want to make sure.
Same channel. I like that. So answer the polling question now. The snapshot refresh feature acceptable, yes or no? The poll has ended. Excellent. Moving on. So we have 3 last questions. Any other messages required? And so the first one, end-of-day summary messages. Would people want that question? The second one to answer is order-by-order message. Would that be a helpful message? And then the last one, retransmission of trade message.
So I think for the retransmission of trade messages, we want to highlight that with the refresh, we are not really providing a gap fill, and we would like to know if there are any subscribers who are interested in a historical record of all the trade information that was sent out, in which case we would provide a different facility for the retransmission of trade messages. Otherwise, the current protocol that we have defined provides a real-time trade, and the refresh would give us the last trade on that series. So the retransmission of trade messages is a very critical polling question from our perspective to understand the customer base and their needs.
And Vidya, just so that I make sure that I understand, the retransmission of trade messages would be an intraday request. And then is the end-of-day summary message, would that be somewhat of a non-real-time alternative to the retransmission?
Yeah, so the end-of-day summary message is where we can give more like a summarized version and say this was the highest trade of the day, this is the lowest price, this was the opening price, this was our closing price, and this was, so we give like a summary of the day for the trading activity. And retransmission is so we can give every single trade that happened during the day.
I got it.
Okay, so please everybody answer our 3 questions before the polls close. And again, we will see your answers, but you will not. Selvam, question from Amy?
Yes, Amy.
Yes, Selvam, did you want to talk briefly about the order-by-order message and differentiate from the top and depth?
Yes, the order-by-order, basically, this is one of the significant differences from how the equity XDP works with respect to how the proposed XDP solution for options is. In the equities, there is the order-by-order basically message is what it is basically like every time an order gets added, and it becomes it gets booked into enters into our limit order book. We generate an an order, and then whenever the prices get modified, we generate a modify, and then the deletes will generate a delete. So every market data update is sent on an order by order basis, where we are sending the adding sizes or removing sizes on each order, whereas the current what we proposed is similar to what we have today in our Arcabook, which is basically saying what's the total size available at the price level, and that size would include what's the total size and what's the size by customer, and and so on. So it doesn't exactly give a split up of how that aggregate size in price level is broken down into what's the individual sizes on by each order, right? So that's kind of the difference. And moving away from the order by order is what allows us to provide a refresh, an auto refresh as a functionality, because once you have order by order, if an update is missed, without recovering that message, you will not be able to process the next update. With this, just because we are providing the price levels, we are just providing directly the refresher at each prices, and we can constantly publish these prices, and not worry about like publishing the size and price at each order.
Really, yeah. And so really at the end of the day, Seldom, it would probably be fair to say that we would prefer not to provide the order-by-order message unless it's absolutely critical to our clients, which then, of course, we would accommodate it.
Yes.
So, yes, I think in a nutshell, order-by-order gives the composition versus what we are proposing gives us an aggregated by price level feed.
Yeah, and if it gives the how heavy the buy and sell side is, and if everything can be done with this, having or not doing order by order also gives the additional advantage of not providing the refresh and recovery,
right?
And guaranteed recovery of the messages, which is a big overhead on our part.
Right, exactly. Okay. Thank you for that additional context.
Okay, well, I want to thank people for responding to our polling. So this is the best part of the webinar. Your questions now. So if you have questions, I see some people have already typed in some questions, so we'll be going to those now. A couple of things as you're typing in questions. Of course, it's in the lower right screen of where you do the questions. If there's any other questions that you come up with after this webinar is over, please email Amy or myself at those two email addresses. And then, of course, this webinar will be posted to our website. If you go to NYSE-ARCAoptions.com or NYSE-AmexOptions.com, if you look across the top bar, there's a Learning Center, and you want to go to the Learning Center, then it's going to say U.S. Options Education Webinars, and that's where we're going to go. So let's start taking your questions.
So the first,
Amar, you want to do the third?
When will the group or ports be known, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the main point of the question is so they can prepare for network changes. So one of the things which we have kept in mind in designing this is to keep the network changes or provisioning of the new multicast channels to the minimum. In our current design, there is no need to provision anything new if they are going to replace it. So especially in the context of CERT, do we want to reuse, or should we like keep the old field on the old multicast and have some more? Is something we don't know. We have decided yet, but for production, there will be no new multicast. They will just replace them, so they don't need to do anything.
Yeah. So the certification, the enhanced certification environment, what we have right now is in the process of because of some customer issues that we have seen, is in the process of adding a few more multicast IPs and ports provision for that. So eventually we will have in our CERT environment, we will have more ports than what is allowed, what is configured today. And we think that, for the aggregator release, we will stick with that, right? So probably a couple of more ports will be added. So we'll send out the details once it's finalized.
So, and I think we want to reiterate, that this was the reason why we said it's a big bang rollout. For production, our expectation is there's going to be no networking changes. It will be the existing multicast groups and ports that we use. Today, we have alpha-based channels for Arcabook, and we'll have the same ones for the new feed, and that's kind of why active participation is greatly appreciated, because we are doing a replace rather than providing two feeds in parallel.
Okay.
There is no parallel period in production with this rollout.
Okay. So it's going to be a nice big bang rollover Friday to Monday type of thing, which everybody will know about. Another question that's come up, aggregating all the data to one feed will increase the load. Are there any projected bandwidth requirements? Are we expecting there to be a big load increase? Or
no. I want to be very clear here. The first part is a little bit misleading, because we are not looking to aggregate all the data into one feed. However, so the current proposed mechanism of sending multicast data from one feed, for example, for one letter range to one multicast channel, will continue. However, the difference this time is that we will be listing the symbols, the data sources for publishing this multicast from multiple servers, which means even for the letter range A, we will be using multiple stream IDs to publish into that channel. And so that way it will give us additional capabilities to scale, because right now the problem is some of the letter ranges like S are too huge that a single channel may not be sufficient, and in this kind of an architecture will allow us to scale and send multiple streams to publish the data. So net we are not expecting an increase in the traffic. And one of the constraints that we have to choose in choosing a proper algorithm, compression algorithm, is that we are not net increasing the bandwidth utilization.
Okay. So that makes sense. I like that. So let's see here. Other questions. So now,
I think Arca Equities currently doesn't have an encoding, and the replacement for the compressed Arcabook with XDP is the throttled book XDP feed, which doesn't have a compression algorithm. It's just throttled based on the fields and the alignment. So there is really no compression algorithm being used in XDP on the Arca Equities market. So, but options we would need to have a compression mechanism, as Selvam explained, to make sure that a bandwidth requirement stays the same as it is currently. We are not projecting any increase, and we'll ensure that the usage stays flat as compared to today.
Okay, that sounds good. Another question.
And it is binary. To answer the other question, Arca Equities is binary, and the XDP for options is also binary.
Okay.
With compression on top of it, which is not existing in Arca Equities.
Would an end of the day summary include volume?
Yes.
Yes. End of the day summary is published on a single outright strike by strike basis, and it includes a summary volume.
Yes.
Okay. Another question we're getting: what is the time frame for testing and rollout of this change? And this is going over the basically first quarter and second quarter.
Yes, and I think we would target a first drop in the early first quarter, and then have additive drops, which adds the other features, on a month to 2 month basis. So, and we are going to have very open communication. So as we are ready with the drop, we'll give the information of the content of the drop, the cert availability, and all the information. So we are hoping that it'll be a cooperative approach between us and the customers.
Excellent. So again, everybody go out, have a great Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, Hanukkah, whatever else is out there type of holiday. And then coming back in January, we start on our drop 1, and that's going to be really helpful for us. So for top of book compared with the existing Arcabook, how much latency improvement can we expect? Do we have any?
I don't think we have a quantitative measure.
So,
but we are going to get improvements.
Yeah, we are definitely going to get improvements because right now we know that there is a huge latency bottlenecks in the, and we see that there are latencies sometimes in seconds and sometimes in a lot of latencies in 30 milliseconds range and and sometimes it's really bad. And those are some of the implementation decisions that we had in the past when the performance was not critical for these feeds, that we had. So yes, we are looking at latencies in micros. We don't know the exact number yet, so we have to run our benchmarks. But we are looking to reduce our latencies into sub-milliseconds.
So we are finishing up on our specs, and when they are finished, we will be sending these to. We will be sending out a notice and with the actual specs on them.
Yeah, and wouldn't you say that pending the feedback from this webinar, Seldom NVIDIA, that we should be able to turn around the final, well, I don't want to call it final, but the client-facing spec for client consumption in pretty short order?
Yes. Yes, Amy, we should be able to, incorporating today's feedback, come up with the final or the first version of the client spec pretty soon.
Okay, excellent. And as Todd, as you said, Todd, you'll make sure that a client notice gets out and folks are aware.
I will for sure. One last question before we start wrapping up. We've kept people for a good amount of time. Now, will the new stream IDs will be added interday for a given multicast feed? No.
Stream IDs would be
series download.
Yes,
it will be provided in the download, and also it will be load balanced probably at some point, based on the previous day's data, but it will definitely be provided in the morning download.
Well, it'll be in the morning. It'll be static for a day. I think we should say it can change between days. It will change, but it won't change intraday. What we start off in the morning, it'll stay static for the day.
Okay, I think that's the important knowledge to gain from that. Excellent. Well, I want to thank everybody. Amy, do you have any last thoughts? And again, I give everybody our friendly reminder, our big bang, boom, boom, boom.
Yes, well, thank you, Todd. What I would like to say is that we will keep the continuation of communication consistently throughout this entire process, and we will take. We got some questions today that I just don't think we have the time to answer, and some of them maybe it's a little early in the process to give a definitive answer. But we appreciate all the questions that we received. What we'll do is take some of these offline internally and digest them. And before we go to CERT with the first drop early in 2014, we'll kick things off with a New Year's Party webinar that will kind of go over the initial drop in more detail. And we'll do that with each iteration as we near the second drop to CERT. We'll have another webinar and update. We'll let you know when there are additional updates to the client-facing spec. We really will be reliant upon your steadfast participation in the CERT environment and your consistent feedback, suggestions, questions, open and curious communication between all parties is really essential to making this a success. We're excited about this project. We think it brings a lot of benefits to our clients, and we look forward to working on this with you all as a team to get us from point A to point B in good shape. So thank you. Vidya, Seldom, Lamar, thank you so much for lending your expertise today, and Todd, as always, thank you for being an excellent host.
Thank you, Amy. Back at you.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you, everybody. We will talk later.